Active Life has put on 3 live events in the last month after putting on only 2 in the last 5 years, and we've learned a lot. Welcome back, Active Lifers. I'm Larry. I'm going to be your host today. We're here with Dr. Sean Pastuch.
I am here in studio.
And I'm excited to dive into this one.
Me too. I want to just give a little caveat. I know I fed you that intro, so I didn't mean to set you up for this, but we had an excuse to not have live events for 3 years. Just saying. It's not as if we were like, hey, maybe we'll throw out live events and let's experiment for 5 years with it. It was like a thing.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Carry on.
So what did we learn?
A lot. The first thing that we learned is that there is no replacement for doing things in person. And I think the biggest reason for that, and I'm actually curious your opinion too, is when you're doing things online, what happens is people report to a Zoom meeting, right? Everyone knows, okay, 1:00 Wednesday, the whole team is going to be on a call. 1:00 Friday, all of our clients for ProPath are going to be on a call, and ALPs are going to be on a different call. So you prep and you plan and you think about what I want to say in that meeting. How do I want that meeting to go? And it's difficult to go deep and to have really intensely emotional conversations that are necessary for people to break loose of beliefs that are holding them back, because it's significantly less safe.
Well, there's a reason that one of our attendees in the last live event, described there is life before this event and then there is life after.
Yeah, and someone said the same thing about the event we just did in Montreal.
Yeah. And
I believe that is a result of creating enough trust with each other by having conversation before, between, and after the agenda, if you will, that allows for the talking points to be significantly more impactful because everybody knows everybody in the room wants them to be successful and happy.
Yeah, well, what's the difference between getting to know your teacher through a lecture in a class and getting to know your teacher by talking to them in office hours or getting a coffee with them?
Yeah, frankly, the thing I'm struggling with right now personally is how do we make the whole company that without being a live event company exclusively? You know, the texture of the conversations we're able to have in the room when you know I'm going to dinner with this person afterwards. I just went for a walk with this person around the block to get some sun and just to move around. I just shared something with that person about me for 20 minutes that was deeply personal, that allows them to know, okay, I can trust this person with this information. When you do that to a room of even 5 people online, it, in a lot of ways, I feel like it's, okay, we only have 40 minutes left now. You know what I'm saying? Mm. It's the meeting was called for an hour, so Sean just occupied 20 minutes of the hour to tell us about his story. Cool. We learned a lot about him, but is this meeting about him? But what I learned from doing this stuff in personal events is that is what allows people to free up and make it about them. That's what creates the safety. And I want to find ways to do that more often.
What are some of the things that when you describe safety, it's something that I hear a lot that we talk about. Why do you believe that's so fundamental? Because I don't hear a lot of, when you look at Instagram and all the different crazy business pages with the fun font that flashes across the screen and the influencer in their awesome studio talks, very few people are talking about creating safety or a sense of it.
Well, I'll share with you something I've never shared with you or anybody because I didn't know it until this past week, because it was a safe room for me to actually realize it. One of the things I've been trying to battle with myself is, as we are a company that's made the decision that we are primed for scale. And when I say scale, I mean we want world-changing scale, not a few $1 million a year, not even our clients doing a few $1 million a year, but like legitimate influence where we're changing culture in a lot of ways. And I act as a leader oftentimes with more scarcity financially than I would like to. And I haven't been able to figure out, why do I show up with scarcity as a leader when we have plenty of money in the bank. We're not at risk of going out of business. We make plenty of money monthly. If we wanted to become very profitable, there are very simple steps that we could take to do that. I just don't believe those steps are right for the long-term vision of the company. They're good for today. They're not good for forever. So I'm like, where's this all coming from? And I've been thinking about it. And what I landed on in conversation with the guys in Montreal, simply because I felt like I needed to go first for some of them, was my biggest professional regret was taking money from friends and family to open my first gym in Long Beach in the West End. That's my regret, because I took money from them. Things were going really well. There was no reason to believe things would stop going well. And then we raised money again to open a second location. Those friends and family were like, yeah, things are going great. Let's do this again. You're a safe bet. And then lawsuit, which cost $120,000 to win, which, by the way, was more than the profits of the business in the first year. Hurricane Sandy. So now these people had invested in 2 locations, not in one, and we only had one, and it wasn't open yet, and no one lived in our town anymore. Then my business partner and I split, and I wasn't the guy who was supposed to be running the gym. I was supposed to be the visionary for the gym. He was supposed to run the gym. So I wasn't able, in the end, I stayed in that business for at least a year longer than I should have, because I felt guilty about not being able to return the investment to the investors. Mm-hmm. I still feel it. The next step there is my wife is retired now. I'm very proud of that. I'm proud that she doesn't have to go to work anymore, that we've been able to sort things out and have her stay home. If I discontinued earning, if something bad happened with the company, she wouldn't be able to do that. And I would hate to tell her, I need you to go back to work. All of this, frankly, culminated for me in a dream that I had, or a nightmare that I had, where my oldest daughter was being interviewed, and she's in her 40s or 50s in the interview, whatever it was. And the host asked her, where is your drive to be successful come from? And she said in the interview, I grew up watching my dad work really, really hard and never making it. And so I wanted to make it to honor his work. I was like, fuck. That one woke me up. I had to go for a walk. That was not one I was falling back to sleep from. And I knew all of these things, but I never faced all of these things. And I'm never going to face all of those things on a Zoom call with friends or with clients. It's just not going to come out. There isn't time for it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we owe it to our clients and to our prospects, frankly, to have the opportunity, to have the space, to have that kind of a conversation for themselves. Because what it allowed me to understand is despite the fact that we've grown in ways that I'm very proud of, I've been playing defense, and offense is the game.
So how does creating more live events help people start to feel good about playing offense more?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll share first why live events are such a obstacle for us to be able to do. It's not like, why? Okay, Sean, so just do one every month. Well, it's not that easy. The environment that we set in Montreal, we didn't ask anyone to pay to come. And we want to be able to continue doing that, especially for the gym owners out there, the ProPath clients out there, who are already investing in their own leadership and the development of other people, so that other people in their team can live financially freeing and fulfilling lives. I believe that in a lot of ways we owe it to them to bring them out and remove all of the barriers to their ability to come. When we do that, an event like that can cost us in the neighborhood of $15,000 for 5 people to come. That's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you could do it for less, but it creates a very different environment. We wanted to be able to create an environment where everybody who was there felt like, I do not treat myself as well as I'm being treated while I'm here. I want to treat myself as well as I'm being treated while I'm here. What is necessary of me to treat myself in that way? Well, it's the personal development, it's the business development, it's the abundance mindset, it's all of those things. That's expensive. And if we were going to do that every month, that's a budget that starts to really, it's not just the money we spend. It's I'm there now. And I'm not doing other things for the company that create income. And so this is all the stuff that's been spiraling in my head about how do I free myself to be able to do that? How do I create the revenue pool for us to justify doing that so that I can just play offense for our clients and our prospects? Why does that happen in a live event was the question, right? I forgot the question.
Yeah, it's how do live events allow people to shift to start playing offense? Yeah.
So they allow people to shift to start playing offense because I want you to think about anyone listening, or you even, well, you especially, you're in the room with me. What you mentioned before, showing up for class. When you show up for class, that's a Zoom call, that's meeting with your mentor for an hour or half an hour, whatever the meeting calls for. What do you anticipate speaking about? And how long does it take you to get into the level of small talk, if you will, comfort, to be able to say the things that are necessary to come out to break through these barriers? Time on a call like this doesn't permit it. Yeah. The other thing is there's anticipation of the call ending. And so I'm not going to start talking about something that I don't know how long I need to unpack the whole thing when I know that there's a hard stop an hour from now. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't want to be left with it by myself.
Yeah. So it's like the more time you give yourself to steep in whatever you're discussing, the more strong your realization, whatever the change needs to be, and the easier it'll be for you to go and make it.
Yeah. We went to Montreal to be the students, Ken and I. We did not go to be the teachers. Yeah. The purpose of Montreal was we wanted to bring out 5 ProPath owners and ask them, or 4, excuse me, Mike, Jason, Brad, Aaron, 4 ProPath, and Chelsea, 4 ProPath gym owners. We wanted them to come out and we wanted to ask them, you're at 4 very different degrees of development in your business. One of you is doing damn near $1 million a year right now, which is awesome, with plenty of profit, with full-time staff, with crushing. And it goes all the way down to numbers that are much more pedestrian as it pertains to a micro gym, a boutique fitness environment. Coincidentally, a lot of those gradients are aligned with how much their model has evolved to be similar or the same as what's happening in Long Beach. What we wanted to be able to understand is how can we do a better job removing all of the blocks for you that allow you to do this? What are the reasons that you're not doing what we're doing in Long Beach to a T if we share the same values? How can we do better? Yeah. And that was the anticipation. It's not what happened. I mean, it is, and it's not. Because what happened was we started off talking about, do we share values? You have to do that to identify, like, do you even want to go to this thing? And when we started talking about do we share values, that was intense.
What was intense about it?
It's I share that value. You're doing great in your business. You're not in alignment with that value, though.
What does that mean? Unpack that. Give me an example.
An example of that would be you're describing wanting to be able to deliver to the client every time. Deliver on your promise every single time. And that you want to be able to serve the market of people for whom there is no other solution.
So they're measuring business is doing great, but it's not happening via.
Business is doing great. Look at the room. Who's in it? Yeah. What's the average age of the person in your room? Is it between 30 and 35, or is it between 50 and 60? So
the business is doing great, but not because you're actually fulfilling the mission that you're saying you want to fulfill.
You're fulfilling some of it. And
so no.
And why not the rest?
Right.
Why do you still have, for example, the group class? How does the group class deliver on the mission that you're describing? Mm-hmm. And I'm open, by the way, to being wrong.
Right.
I want to understand. Tell me.
Yeah, but turn over the stones and let's find out for sure.
Yes. And when you start turning over those stones, it becomes, it's not. And I'm scared. Mm-hmm. What are you scared of? Why are you scared of that?
Yep.
That gets fucking deep. Mm-hmm. That's not happening on a Zoom call in 30 minutes or an hour.
Well, the thing about talking about that is, from my experience, action dissolves fear. So if you're afraid of an action or the consequence of an action, doing the thing is the number one thing you can do to feel better about it, irrespective of the consequence.
But
hold on. The next best thing you can do besides actually taking the action is walking through all of the things that you were just describing, because that'll dissolve 95% of it.
Yeah.
If you take it all the way there.
What it comes down to is, to take an action, you need awareness. Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking from personal experience that I just described the story to you. I didn't have awareness myself.
Yeah, asking all those questions is the best way to create it.
Yeah. It was mind bending. It was like,
it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. And that stuff only happens in live events.
I think it was probably really cool for them to all see that happen to you, someone that they look up to regularly.
I know it was.
Yeah.
Because, they told me afterwards that they've been all about the mission. They've been all about what it is that we do. They didn't know where the drive came from for me. Mm. And now that they do, they see it as for something significantly bigger than my selfish desire to be successful. Mm-hmm. And now they're like, let's.
What do you think it was that they understood and they took away that allowed them to have so much fire in their belly for that?
I'm a human like them. I told them.
But I mean, besides your selfish drive to be successful, what did they see beyond that allowed them to say, "Oh, okay, this is energizing"?
Well, it's there's genuinely a mission here, and Sean is fairly agnostic as to how we achieve that mission.
Right.
Yeah. He just believes from his own experience that this is the best way he knows how, and he needs us to collaborate to help him come up with a better way to do it. Like, all the things we're doing, great. How do we do them all better and bigger and faster? And they now understand it's not mine. If it's mine, we've gone as far as we're going to, right? Or we haven't. If it's mine, we have to cut off the expectation and I have to do things differently to go a little further. If it's ours, it's limitless. Mm-hmm. It's limitless. That's what I think they now understand. They have some pride of authorship and we're going to help with this thing instead of we're going to be dictated how to do this thing. And a perfect example of that is I shared with them one of my favorite and least favorite hours of every single week is our Friday ProPath gym owner call, our Friday ProPath call. Our Friday ProPath call is when when many of the ProPath owners show up on a 1 hour call to mentor each other. It's one of my favorite calls of the week because it's inspiring to hear what these people are able to do for the people who trust them. It's one of my least favorite calls because oftentimes if I'm not speaking, the call's over. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is not the Sean hour.
It's not how it's supposed to be.
It's not. I don't know better than any of you. I can ask the questions to shine the perspective.
Have you ever tried just sitting and staring awkwardly in silence until someone said something?
I'm going to do it today. Hold on. The answer is yes, I've done that. But I think that the context of the purpose of the meeting needs to be re-established and better understood. It's not meant to be a tactical meeting. Yep. There are tactical meetings every day. Mm-hmm. It's meant to be, this will sound woo-woo, but it's meant to be a spiritual meeting. It's meant to be like, bring us what is on your mind and in your soul so that other people on this screen can help pull it out for you and make it less scary.
Yeah.
That's what I think I've failed to make clear to everybody the purpose of that call is. And so I end up preaching. I'm not a preacher. I don't want to be a preacher.
Yeah.
I want to be a facilitator.
Well, one of the things that I've found in my own experience is that I think it's very easy for the two of us to take up space and talk. And so we'll default to it, especially when there's space that people are waiting to be filled. And what I found is that it's very easy for people to show up to meetings that I lead with the expectation of what's the value that we're going to extract from Larry talking today. And to sit back and let people become abundantly clear on the fact that you'll probably find more value if you bring something. And then everyone else realizes that they can bring something. And it becomes an us thing instead of the lecture that we're here for.
Yeah. One of the things
I think that reframing in the beginning, like you said, is probably a really good idea.
It's going to happen today. Today's Friday, May, whatever. It's going to happen today. The thing I guess I'll leave this podcast with, unless you have other questions about this topic in particular, is that the biggest thing that came out of all of these live events is every time the thing that was most obvious was the ability to see how people interact when they're not in the learning mode, the intentional learning mode, like we're teaching something right now. And then the ability to correct those things or check those things are what lead to the big things.
Well, because that's where life really happens, right?
So I'll give you a really simple example. And because I was looking for it all week, I saw you do it yesterday. Do you say thank you to the waiter or waitress when they pour your water? Do you ask their name? And do you just show gratitude for what they're doing? If they seem like they're interested in conversation, do you have it with them? You get into an Uber. Are you talking to the person driving? And there are people out there who might be like, that's awkward. They don't want to talk to you. I did an experiment in Canada and I asked, I think it was 8 Uber drivers, do you prefer people talk to you or to leave you alone to drive? 7 out of all but 1 said, it's very weird for me when nobody talks to me. I don't know if they want me to talk to them. I don't know if they want me to be quiet. I don't know if they want to be quiet. I don't know if they're working on something. Yeah. When somebody talks to me, it relieves a lot of tension. I heard that over and over and over again. The one guy I didn't hear it from spoke very little English and had disdain for me being in his passenger seat and did everything that he could to make sure our groceries were rolling around the back of his Tesla. But when you know that, is it important enough for you to do it, or is that your time? Even though there's someone else in the room who's getting you from place to place. I want to be around people for whom they want to deliver that unexpected value to somebody else. And when you do that, everything just becomes so obvious.
Yeah, good talk.
Turn pro. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Active Life podcast. Please remember, give us a hand, rate it, review it wherever you listen to shows. We are on a mission to humanize the healthcare industry by professionalizing the fitness industry to empower the individual to live a life unlimited by the way that their body looks, feels, or performs. If you are inspired by that mission and want to jump on the wagon, find us anywhere. Active Life Professional on Instagram, Active Life RX on Instagram. Come to me personally at Dr. Sean Pastuch. We want to welcome you onto the train. We want you to be a part of the mission. We want to offer you the opportunity to pursue this right alongside us. We're inspired by your effort, and we hope to help you in your journey. Turn pro.